I mean, looking at this draft board, it's just insane. It's like once you get past pick 140, no 150, pick 150 is Robbie Ray. I mean, after pick 150, I don't want any of these guys on my team. Gavin Lux, Elvis Andrews, Mike Minor, Matthew Boyd, Hansel Robles, Alex Kame, Will Smith, Archie Bradley, Sean Manaea, Salvador Perez, Kyle Tucker, Wilson Ramos, yeah, I would want him. Hunter Dozier, I don't want him. Brian Reynolds, yeah, I want him. Scott Kingery, Ahmed Rosario, J.D. Davis, Carlos Martinez, I think he's COVID. Kenta Maeda. Here's a guy I do like, Willie Calhoun. Keep that name in your mind. That's the guy. If you take one thing away from this video, keep Willie Calhoun and draft him on your teams. You will not be disappointed. That's safe profile, great plate discipline, great strikeout rate, great, decent walk rate, but he has the ability to put bat to ball with that low strikeout rate, and he has easily 25 power potential. I think the guy will hit 40 home runs in MLB season. Let me pull up what he did last year. For some of you guys that don't know about Willie Calhoun, he's talking about post prospect hype and all that. I mean, Willie Calhoun, 25 years old. Willie Calhoun, bats lefty, throws righty, 5'8", outfielder for the Rangers. Last year in 337 plate appearances. Usually a guy that plays all day. He's gonna be playing every day. Every day for the rest of the next, unless he doesn't do good. I mean, it's his job to lose, and I think his bat's there. He should be an everyday starter for the next 5 years at least. 337 plate appearances this year, 21 home runs, 269 batting average, only a 323 on base. That's what I'm saying. His walk rate's not great, but in a 5x5 roto, I don't care about that 323 on base, and I think that average. Honestly is only going to get better. If you look at his minor league stats, 414 plate appearances in AAA, 298. Batted 297 last year in AAA, 294 the year before. I mean, the average is there. 6.8% strikeout rate. League average is like 22%. 6.8% strikeout. Oh, that's walk rate. Fuck. 15% strikeout rate. Pretty low. Pretty low for a guy with that power production too. ISO's 256. ISO's better than I thought. So yeah, Willie Calhoun, safe profile, and he's gonna get you 30 home runs, and he should get you 80 RBIs, and maybe 75 runs because the speed bump. That's maybe hopefully 85 RBIs. That's a guy where if his team gets better, we're probably talking about he's probably pick 100 next year instead of Marcell Ozuna. I think Willie Calhoun could easily move up 100 picks, and that's really what you're trying to do in these drafts. Once you get past pick 100, really, I mean, you're saying, okay, Corey Seager, I think he's going to be pre 100 next year. He's post 100 this year. What guys do you think are going to end up moving up in the draft value next year? What guys do you think just, it might sound like a little too reactionary, but the ADPs are kind of reactionary, and they change a lot. If a guy was injured all year last year, like Corey Seager, or most of the year, or Willie Calhoun, he didn't have a full season, and then guys look at thing only had 50 RBIs. Like, that stuff plays a role, and people are scared to. And I talk about track record, so it's funny I'm saying a guy like Willie Calhoun, but that's why profile is important. Willie Calhoun's not out there striking out 30% of the time and getting you 25 home runs and 331 at bats. He's getting you 21 home runs in 300 in half a season. That's a 40 home run pace in half a season with a 15% strikeout rate. When league average is like 22, Mike Trout strikes out like 22% of the time. Most guys strike out more than 20% of the time. That's it's safe. So you see a guy like that, you think, okay, what? Like Brian Reynolds is probably like that too. Maybe the thing with Brian Reynolds, not enough power, not enough raw power there. That's the one thing I'd say. Be careful with guys like Brian Reynolds, because great. I fall in love with him. Great profile, gonna bat 290 plus, great hitter. I still think there's a lot of upside for guys like him or Corey Dickerson. They just have such great bat to ball skills that if they just tweak some things and change something, that they could be jacking 30 plus home runs a year. Corey Dickerson and Brian Reynolds. It's It's hard because they're not going to get you the RBIs if they're not adding power. They're gonna, what does Brian Reynolds get you in RBIs? Because I want to love Brian Reynolds. I really do want to love Brian Reynolds. Brian Reynolds in 546 games last year, 68 RBIs, 83 runs. I mean, that's a full season. Yeah, the runs are good, 83, but 68 RBIs and it's only 3 steals and 16 home runs. So you want to know what's crazy? And he had double the at bats with Calhoun basically, and Calhoun had 5 more home runs. And Calhoun probably had more steals too. Nah, Calhoun had 0, but Reynolds only had 3. I would think Reynolds, if you were to ask me before I checked, I would have said he had 10 steals at least last year. I thought he was a speed guy. So Reynolds is a guy, and Reynolds has a 22% strikeout rate last year, never shown anything but a 20% in the minors. Walk rate's a little higher than Calhoun, but not really. So yeah, I'm just saying you don't want to fall in love with batting average guys unless if they're offering you steals, great. But because everyone's hitting 20 home runs, you're kind of hurting your team getting a 16 home run guy a lot. Like even Ahmed Rosario will hit more than 16 home runs next year. He's going around the same place as Brian Reynolds. Perfect counterpoint to low home runs and this, that. Paul DeJong. That's a guy who I thought, anyone that likes Paul DeJong is trash, because I love batting average. But I think that's when you got to know your own biases. You got to know that you judge guys unfairly in that. And if you're lacking the home run category, you gotta change your biases. So Paul DeJong, 30 home runs, 664 plate appearances. The reason Paul DeJong is a fantasy asset is because he's going to play every day next year for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's not going to get any days off. He's going to be at 159 games last year, 97 runs, 78 RBIs. Pretty similar plate discipline numbers to Brian Reynolds, but the batting average is way worse. Paul DeJong's average, 233. Brian Reynolds' average, 314. So, if you do take a guy that is a strikeout beast and he doesn't have a good average, then take Brian Reynolds. Or maybe try to get Brian Reynolds and Paul DeJong. Compliment those guys. Brian Reynolds, 317 average. Paul DeJong, that just comes down to a 260 hitter. A 260 hitter that's giving you a lot of runs. You're getting a lot of runs from Brian Reynolds and Paul DeJong. Great pairing right there. I do think it's very important to go over and just draft. Just either do mock drafts, do free drafts, and get to know the board. Get to know the guys. Get to know what values you like, and get to know what guys you don't like, especially. Honestly, you really can't get prepared enough for a fantasy draft. That might sound insane, but the nature of a draft, especially compared to an auction, is that you're going to have to make different choices every time. An auction draft, you can go in and, for the most part, if you're patient and you have it planned out, you can get the guys you plan on getting. You can't ever do that, I feel like, in a snake draft. And that's what I was saying to start the video when it comes down to having I want to have picks 1 or 2 or 11 and 12 or 10, 11, 12. But I don't really like that middle because I don't like Lindor that much, and I don't like having a pick between Bregman, Trey Turner, Trevor Story. I'd rather just, because I'm fine with either of them, so I'd rather just get the whatever of those 4 shortstops are left: Lindor, Trevor Story, Trey Turner, or Bregman. Give me the last one of them, so give me the latest pick, and then give me the next best pick, so I can grab Freddie Freeman. Or, I mean, if DeGrom's there, shit, I'm grabbing DeGrom. I'm probably grabbing DeGrom. I think DeGrom's the best pitcher in the MLB. Scherzer is aging. Verlander's aging. Kluber, that's not there anymore. All the guys that were up there with him the guys we used to call the core four, sure, they're not. DeGrom isn't his prime. DeGrom is the unanimous. You can say Garrett Cole until Garrett Cole does what he's doing for at least another year, and honestly, he got to do it for 2 more years in my mind. Until he does it for 2 more years, he's not as good. And obviously, if Garrett Cole has a great year this year and DeGrom has like a 4 ERA, I'll admit Garrett Cole is better right then. But if DeGrom keeps doing what he's doing, Cole's gonna have to do what he's doing for at least 2 more years for me to say Cole's better. I mean, it's just DeGrom in my mind. Once in a standard 5x5, once Trout's gone, once Acuna's gone, once Yelich is gone, the right pick is Jacob DeGrom. The right pick right there is Jacob DeGrom, because locking down that starter like that. I just think bats, like I'm saying Paul DeYoung, Brian Reynolds in these later picks, you're going to find Luis Ariz pick like 250 or something. You're going to find Xing Shu. They're not too sexy. These guys aren't like great, great. Nick Senzel, Jock Peterson, 30 home runs last year, maybe even more, 30 plus home runs. You're not going to be Joey Votto in an on-base league, great pick. There's going to be bats there. John Birdie for steals. I mean, there's going to be bats to get. Dylan Carlson, maybe a little sleeper this year. He should get some at-bats for Cardinals. But you don't really want to touch those pitchers, I think, in these later rounds. Me personally, I want like Seth Lugo. I want Seth Lugo, but I don't really want a lot of these. You get what I'm saying? Pitching is very top heavy. Starting pitching, especially, is extremely top heavy. And after DeGrom, there's no one with any type. The combination of safety and talent. There's no one that beats DeGrom. There's no one with as high as a floor and as high as a ceiling as Jacob DeGrom from starting pitcher in my eyes. And I think a similar comp when it comes to hitters, when you're not looking at stolen bases, because I think sometimes we all get a little too hung up on stolen bases. And yeah, they're important, obviously, but you still need those guys that are going to get you those runs and RBIs. Is Freddie Freeman. They go at similar places. And if you could pair those two guys up, first base ain't as good as people think it is. There's times where I get stuck with Eric Hosmer, and I say, I don't think he's a bad in standard 5x5. He gets you the runs and RBIs, like I'm saying. But I get stuck with Eric Hosmer, and I'm like, he's not really crazy good. In a points league, he's hurting you a lot, and on base, he's hurting you a lot. But in a 5x5, it's not really. Wait for Eric Hosmer, and people, you can hate on that all you want. I don't think it's a stupid choice. How many runs and RBIs do you think Eric Hosmer gave you last year? Hosmer last year, 99 RBIs, man. Come on. 72 runs, 99 RBIs. Yeah, only 22 home runs. But I'll take that 99 RBIs. 265 batting average is kind of bad. But this is a guy who's bad at 297. He's bad at 318. He's had a 385 on base 2 years ago. I mean, this is a guy who, without a doubt, has skills. Has elite all-star, top 30 hitter skills. This guy has top 30 hitter skills. That might sound crazy. It's just, he does. (2017) 98 runs, 94 RBIs. And what is Freeman giving you? Freeman's giving you 10 more home runs, maybe, and maybe 10 more runs and RBIs max. And Hosmer's going 200 picks later. That's the stuff. And yeah, batting average is 40 points lower. Yeah, batting average is going to be lower. But that's the stuff right there where you got to see what you're getting. And it really puzzles me sometimes because the high-end players aren't really that different sometimes from the lower players.